Welcome back, children, to the concluding session of our Class 10 second chapter, Federalism, wherein we covered the concept of federalism, the features of federalism, two roots or the levels of federations, that is, the coming together federations and the holding together federations. Then, with the various examples, we try to get the answer for our question, what makes India a federal country? Right, children? Yes, like the three tiers of the government, three lists which were taken care by the state and the union government. Also, we try to understand the difference between the state and the union territory. In the journey of understanding federation, we came across with the question, how is federalism practiced? How federalism succeeded in India? How is linguistic state that became a major test for the democratic politics? How did the language policy become a challenge for the democratic politics? Now we will see how the relationship between the center and state became one of the important factor for federalism. What will happen if there are different governments in the center and state? And as discussed earlier in our previous videos, we will see what is a coalition government. How did the era of coalition begin? Then, children, first we will start with the relationship of the center and state in federalism in India. Children, restructuring the center and state relations is one more way in which federalism has been strengthened in practice. In reality, how the constitutional arrangement for power sharing works depends to a large extent on how the ruling parties and the leaders follow these arrangements or the provisions. For a long time, the same party ruled both at the center and also in most of the states, and that party was none other than the Congress. This also meant that the state governments did not exercise their rights as an autonomous federal unit, that is, not an independent unit at all. They were governed or controlled by the High Command from Delhi, that is, the central government. And if at all the ruling party at the state level was different, then the parties that ruled at the central tried to undermine the power of the state, that is, try to suppress the power of the state. Children, can you find here an image of an article, Article 356, which means it is a section of a government which imposes a precedent rule. Alright, any moment the central government can impose a precedent rule on the state government if the central government finds that the state government is not functioning properly. The central government can impose a precedent rule by utilizing this particular article. And now we will see how this particular article was imposed during that period. In those days, the central government would very often misuse the constitution to dismiss the state governments that were controlled by the rival parties. Like if you see this particular chart, here you will find the period of January 1966 to March 1977, wherein Indira Gandhi became the Prime Minister of India. She had imposed the precedent rule for the maximum of 35 times, right, by misusing the provision, the constitutional provisions, right, to dismiss the state government. Now, this kind of behavior undermined the spirit of federalism. But children, all this uh, behavior, it changed significantly. After 1990, scams like Bofors, then the Operation Blue Star against the Khalistan attack in the Golden Temple, which further resulted in the assassination of Indira Gandhi, violent riots in the country, some clashes within the political parties like Congress. All this resulted in no majority for Congress in the ninth election in 1989. And this was a period which saw the rise of regional political parties in many states of the country. This was also the beginning of the era of the coalition government at the center. Now, children, through the image itself, you can understand what is meant by the coalition government. That is, the power of not one political party, but the power of or the government formed by many political parties coming together. Right? Now, since no majority could be formed by a single political party in the Lok Sabha, the major national party had to enter into an alliance with many parties, including several regional parties, to form a government at the center. And this led to a new culture of power sharing and also a respect for the autonomy of the state government. This image clearly shows how the different states had to plead for more powers from the Prime Minister at the central government. And this is the image showing how the NDA government, that is a coalition government, was formed by the partnership of many parties under the leadership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. That is, he became the Prime Minister of the NDA government. This image is showing the relationship between the center and the state governments, and a torch of the coalition government is lit. This trend was also supported by a major judgment of the Supreme Court that made it difficult for the central government to dismiss the state governments in an arbitrary manner. Therefore, children, we can say federal power sharing is more effective today than it was in the earlier after the constitution came into force. Now the question is, if the federal power sharing is more effective today, then why there is a need for the decentralization of the government? Yes, children, what happens in decentralization? Children, we have already noted that federal governments have two or more tiers of governments. Therefore, so far we have discussed about two tiers of governments in our country. That is, the central or the union government and the state government. But a vast country like India cannot be operated only through these two tiers. States in India are as large as independent countries of Europe. If we talk in terms of population, Uttar Pradesh is bigger than Russia and Maharashtra is as big as Germany, and many other states are internally very diverse. Hence, there is a need for power sharing within these states. Federal power sharing in India therefore needed another tier of government below the state government. and that is the local government. So, children, what is decentralization? When some power or authority is transferred or taken from the higher level, that is, from the central and the state government, and given to the lower level, that is, to the local government, then this procedure is called as decentralization. The basic idea behind the decentralization is that there is a large number of problems or the issues which are best settled at the local level only. For example, we have problems related to the street lights, the parks, etc. Then it can be solved only at the local levels because people have better knowledge of problems in their localities. Like if we take an example of Karnataka state, we all know Bangalore is the capital of Karnataka. Now, if there is any local problem arising in the city called Belgaum in Karnataka, which is far away, we can say almost many kilometers away from Bangalore, then can the problem of Belgaum be solved immediately? No, just not possible at all. It will take many days. So, it can be solved only by the people who know the local issues better, who have better ideas on where to spend the money and also how to manage the things more efficiently, isn't it? Besides that, at the local level, it is possible for the people to directly participate in decision making and also to help to inculcate a habit of democratic participation. Local government is the best way to realize one important principle of democracy, and that is the local self government. So, the need of decentralization was recognized in our constitution, and since then, there have been several attempts to decentralize the power of the governments to the level of villages and the towns. In all the states in India, panchayats in villages and the municipalities in the urban areas were set up. But this decentralization was not that effective because these were directly under the control of the state governments. Elections to these local governments were not held regularly, and the local governments also did not have any power or resources of their own. Now, in simple terms, it means that the state government itself had all these powers. In December 1992, 73rd Amendment took place in the Constitution, and a major step was taken towards decentralization to make the third tier of democracy more powerful and effective. Now, as per the Constitution, it was mandatory to hold the regular elections to the local government bodies. Seats are reserved in the elected bodies and the executive heads of these institutions for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward class. Not only that, but also at least one third of all the positions are reserved for women. An independent institution called State Election Commission has been created in every state to conduct the panchayat and the municipal elections. Now here children, if you see the images here, the first image is the image of the State Election Commission of Maharashtra. Similarly, the second image is the image of the State Election Commission of Uttar Pradesh. So in this way, every state has an independent institution called the State Election Commission. Now the third image is an image of a voters list who can cast their vote during the election. The State Election Commission adds or deletes the names of the voters in the list as per the requirement. Like if someone is dead, the name is deleted. If someone has attained 18 years, then the name is added in the list, and so on. The state governments are required to share some powers and the revenue with the local government bodies. But the nature of sharing varies from state to state, depend upon the situation. The rural local government is popularly known as the Panchayati Raj. Each village or a group of villages in some states have a Gram Panchayat. It is a council consisting of several ward members, often called as Panch, and a president as Sarpanch. They are directly elected by all the adult people living in that ward or village. It is the decision-making body for the entire village. The Panchayat works under the overall supervision of the Gram Sabha. All the voters of the village are its members. It has to meet at least twice or thrice in a year to approve the annual budget of the Gram Panchayat and also to review the performance of the Gram Panchayat. Children, in reality, the performance of these Gram Panchayats is totally different as compared to what is given. The local government structure goes right up to the district level. Few Gram Panchayats are grouped together to form Panchayat Samiti or block or mandal. The members of this representative body are elected by all the Panchayat members in that area. All the Panchayat Samitis or the mandals in a district together constitute the Zilla Parishad. Most members of the Zilla Parishad are elected, like members of the Lok Sabha and MLAs of that district and some other officials of other district level bodies are also its members. Zilla Parishad chairperson is the political head of the Zilla Parishad. Similarly, the local government bodies exist for the urban areas also, like in villages. Municipalities are set up in the towns. Big cities have municipal corporations. Both municipalities and the municipal corporations are controlled by the elected bodies consisting of the people's representatives. The municipal chairperson is the political head of the municipality, and in the municipal corporation, mayor is the head. This new system of the local government is the largest experiment in the democracy conducted anywhere in the world. There is now about 36 lakh elected representatives in the panchayats and the municipalities and so on all over the country. This number is bigger than the population of many countries in the world. Constitutional status for the local government has helped to deepen the democracy in our country. It has also increased the women's representation and the voice in our democracy. But children, at the same time, there are many difficulties. While elections are held regularly and enthusiastically, but the Gram Sabhas are not held regularly. Most state governments have not transferred significant powers to the local governments, nor they have given adequate resources. We are thus still a long way from realizing the ideal of self governance. So, children, in this chapter, we have tried to understand what is the federal government, how is federalism practiced in a country, and why there is a need for decentralization in our country. I hope, children, all the concepts are clear to you all. Children, read the chapter well, go through all the points thoroughly, and till the time we meet next, take good care of yourself and have a good day.